Hello everyone, today is 23rd of August, now it's about 1:30, middle of the day by Moscow time. I'm Levan Kudadze and this is my first update for the day in which I'll share all the main news that are making headlines in Russian media outlets and Russian language pages on different internet platforms. And there are quite a few very significant developments and news that I'd like to share with you for this moment, although before I start, let me apologize for not being able to make update yesterday. I was in the process of moving from Dmitrov, Moscow region to Moscow, and we finally here in Moscow. And well, you should see what is going on around. It's all boxes everywhere. But I made this improvised studio here, so I will make update today for sure, and hopefully you will find it interesting. Although, as you can see, I clearly have some technical issues with the lights, but I will deal with it later on. Once we'll finally adapt and I will have my own improvised studio. And well, that's being said, there are members of our community on Patreon and Boosty will see today behind the scenes video about this process of moving to Moscow, and it's gonna be first episode of this behind the scenes program that I want to do on Patreon and Boosty, and hopefully it will find its viewers. And well, that's been said, let's talk about news now. And first of all, short summary of the situation on Ukrainian battlefield. Of course, focus is on Kursk salient, which is occupied temporarily by Kiev regime's forces. According to Russian media, according to Russian officials, despite all the attempts of Kiev regime to further advance in the Kursk direction, Russian troops are blocking and repelling basically all the attacks of Kiev regime, although maneuverable armored groups of Ukrainian armed forces, NATO instructors and mercenaries are still trying on daily basis to find their weak spot on the line of contact and to further advance. Overall, operational control is in Russian hands, and me personally, I don't think the regime will be able to achieve anything in this during this operation of their in the Kursk region. Most likely, in next 3-4 weeks time, we will see clearing operation of Russian troops in this salient, and eventually, after everything is said and done, Kiev regime will lose last strategical reserves that it had before this Kursk invasion. Same time, Russian forces are advancing in Pakros sector of the front line, and according to latest reports, Russian forces established their presence in Mikhailovka settlement direction, in Mikhailovka settlement vicinity, basically on the southern flank of Pakrovsk sector. Russian troops entered the Novogrodovka settlement and established control over the settlement several streets in this direction. Simultaneously, Russian troops established themselves in Krasny Yar, established their positions in Krasny Yar, and some Telegram channels in Russian segment of internet are suggesting that Krasny Yar basically is in operational control of the Russian troops, and forward units or recon and sabotage units of the Russian military in this direction are conducting operation in Nikolaevka settlement right now. Also, of course, Russian troops advanced on the northern flank of Pakrovsk sector towards Grodovka settlement, and forward units of the Russian army already established control over there several streets in Grodovka settlement. Also, it seems like despite all the statements, at least from Kiev regime, that they will stabilize front line and they will send additional reinforcements, at least for now, it is clear that Kiev regime is unable to hold on to its defense lines in Pakrovsk direction. And as I predicted, by the way, Russian troops are advancing not just towards Pakrovsk itself, but also Russian troops conducting offensive operations on the northern flanks of their Pakrovsk sector and also towards the southern flank of their Pakrovsk sector. And most likely in upcoming weeks we will see Russian offensive operations on this line from, let's say, Mikhailovka towards Krasnogorovka and Maximilianovka, and the entire this artillery pocket most likely will become under full Russian control. It should not take more than a couple of weeks, and of course it is highly likely that if you take a look at the map, it is highly likely that it's only a matter of a week or two and Russian troops most likely will be in vicinity of Pakros, or maybe inside the Pakros itself. Time will tell, of course. I cannot know what plans General Staff of the Russian Federation. As also Russian troops conducting, of course, offensive operations in Toretsk direction. New York is under full Russian control, although some Ukrainian channels are reporting that there are some small pockets of resistance of the Kiev regime troops inside New York itself, in encirclement. Theoretically, that's possible, of course, and clearing operation is underway in New York, and whatever Kiev regime's forces are left there will probably have an option to surrender or to end their fight one way or another. And Russian troops further advancing in Toretsk itself from southern side in these Dachi areas. Also, you can see high-rise apartment buildings here. And Russian troops are advancing from northern and the central sides from Kirova direction. Pakros, as I predicted, by the way, Pakros is on line of contact already, and battles are taking place inside the settlement. And Russian troops are continuing advances on the southern Donetsk sector. And their main hotspot here is, of course, Viana settlement right now. Russian troops are advancing towards Viana, and I guess, despite the fact that this area is heavily fortified by Kiev regime for years, I think Russian troops are about to launch a major offensive, sectoral scale offensive towards Viana. And once the settlement is in Russian control, under Russian control, of course, it will become clear that Ugledar and Konstantinovka, also Antonovka, Katerinovka, and all these settlements are under objective threat to be encircled, at least partially, by Russian troops. Same time, rumors are not stopping that Kiev regime is planning to conduct offensive operations in Zaporozhye sector of the front line, with the task to establish control over the Energodar settlement and Zaporozhye nuclear power plant, which is constantly under fire, direct intentional fire from Kiev regime. Theoretically, it is possible, of course, that Kiev regime will send an additional battalion or two or maybe more on this suicidal mission towards Energodar city and ZMPP, but I'm quite sure Russian troops are locked and ready to repel, not just repel any offensive operations from Kiev regime's forces, but to basically take decisive actions and decimate enemy forces, and also, if order is given, further advance Russian positions in this direction. And also, several sources are reporting about intensification of the clashes between Russian and Kiev regime forces in Kherson direction on islands on the Dnieper River, and also in the delta of the Dnieper River. Dozens of islands here, of course, on this mighty river, and sides constantly are in fight to control majority of those islands. And this is it for a short summary. Initiative in Russian hands all along the front line, despite all the attempts of Western media or Western propagandists or pro-Western propagandists to paint the picture that Turkey regime is about to reach Moscow and turn the tide or that kind of stuff. It's all nonsense, by the way. Initiative is in Russian hands, and it's only a matter of time when Kiev regime will have no option but to agree on unconditional surrender. It is what it is. Let's continue with some additional news, and we have TASS news agencies report, and many other media outlets, of course, reported about it. Kiev regime once again targeted their nuclear power station in Russia, Kursk nuclear power station in this particular case, a drone was neutralized, a Ukrainian drone that was carrying explosive, and this drone was intercepted basically by air defense systems that are located in the vicinity of Kursk nuclear power station. Statements was made about this attack by Russian high-ranking officials. I believe yesterday Russian President Putin spoke about recent attacks of Kyiv regime on Kursk nuclear power station, and he said that IAEA, International Atomic Energy Agency, is informed about it. And today, by the way, this night, Kyiv regime once again attempted at least to strike at the Kursk nuclear power plant. And Maria Zakharova, official representative of Russian Foreign Ministry, designated this attack as a nuclear terrorism of the Kyiv regime, and I completely agree with this. There is no other explanation or no other designation can be given to such actions of the Kyiv regime. It's clearly nuclear terrorism, and some decisive actions needs to be taken by international community, by Moscow first of all, obviously, and also by international community to put some pressure on the Western ruling class, by the way. First of all, on the Western ruling class, collective West, because it is obvious for everybody that Kyiv regime's terrorist activity is financed and authorized by collective West, right? Western ruling class, Western secret services. And dear friends, there are rumors that, most likely some heavy response from Russian side is in preparations, and in relatively short time we will see some very decisive actions from Moscow. It is clearly a possibility, but I don't know. We should wait a bit. RT is also reporting that Orthodox Christian Church accuses Kiev of Soviet-style repressions. So Ukraine's latest legislation, which aims to grant the government the right to ban any church or religious community with suspected ties to Russia, is akin to Soviet-style repressions. The Holy Synod of the Russian Orthodox Church said in a statement on Tuesday. Earlier this week, Ukrainian MPs approved their bill, which is seen by the Russian Orthodox Church as directly targeted against the Ukrainian Orthodox Church of Moscow's Patriarchy. This is a canonic church, by the way, Ukraine's Orthodox Church. This is canonic church, and Kyiv regime, Zelensky, who is definitely not Christian, he definitely not acts as a Christian. God knows what his fate is, money probably, and that evil individual and his criminal inner circle and their Western masters, by the way, are planning to ban Ukraine's Orthodox Church, that is Ukraine's Orthodox Church of Russian Patriarchy, which is crime, obviously. This is direct assault on orthodoxy, on Orthodox Christianity, and on Christianity in general, in my personal opinion, and should be condemned worldwide by everybody, by Christians, by Muslims, by Buddhists, Hindus, by everybody, because this is direct attack on canonic church that these Nazis and the fascists and the terrorists in Kyiv-controlled territory are conducting. Under orders of the Western ruling class, I'm 100% convinced about it, because, we all observing for years and for decades, by the way, how Western ruling class and their puppets in so-called media, so-called public figures also, are directly targeting everything traditional. They are targeting not just religions, but they are targeting families, family values. And it's not a secret to anybody who is behind this criminal activity, really, against, in this particular case, Orthodox Christianity. Vzglyad newspaper is reporting that Prime Minister of India has arrived in Ukraine. He visited Poland and then took train to visit Ukraine. And he is in Kiev right now, I believe. And from our Indian friends, from our community, I learned that primarily primarily this visit of Modi is focused on Poland. Although there are some rumors, he did not went to Ukraine directly. No. He was visiting Poland, and well, by being next door, he just went to Ukraine also. We all understand that Indian leadership is under heavy pressure from collective West. And India is in difficult situation. One should always realize that even though India and China are members of the BRICS, relationships between the two are difficult, and therefore, of course, India is considering to maintain close strategic partnership, not just with Russia, to balance, I will say, overall influence of China, increasing influence, but also India is trying to maintain some sort of working level of relationships with the Western states that clearly acted hostile towards India many times in recent history. And therefore, I mean, New Delhi is in difficult situation when they don't really want to upset Western ruling class too much. They don't want to tell them to F off. But same time, they understand that they don't want to ruin relationships with Russia and impose any sanctions on Russia or act on behalf of Western ruling class. And I guess this is kind of compromise of New Delhi. Modi went recently to Moscow. He had a good friendly talk with the Russian leader, and he is visiting now Ukraine. Okay, I don't expect any achievements from this visit, especially now after Kyiv regimes and the NATO's terrorist attack on Kursk region and constant attacks on nuclear power stations, which is definitely nuclear terrorism. But rumors are that Modi may went to India to deliver ultimatum from Moscow. I don't really believe in that, because Moscow can deliver ultimatum to Kyiv regime directly if Kremlin is intending to do so. But well, anything is possible. Maybe Modi was warned by Russian side that well, due to recent extreme actions of the Kyiv regime and their Western backers, Moscow is considering to conduct some heavy-handed response. And well, Modi, being informed, may try to de-escalate, may try to recommend to Kyiv regime to withdraw forces from Kursk region, to stop targeting nuclear power stations, and act more responsibly. Modi definitely will try that, but it will not work. Of course, it will not work, because there is no point to talk to Zelensky, by the way. Zelensky is a dirty prostitute of the CIA. I mean, let's be clear here. Zelensky is a dirty prostitute that is acting as a president under orders of CIA, right? So what is the point to talk to Zelensky, man? I just don't get it. Absolutely. And after all, this visit of Modi in Ukraine is somewhat damaging to India itself, because when Modi went to Moscow, we all remember how despicable statements were made in Kiev by Ukrainian high-ranking officials. They were insulting India, Indian people, Indian culture, Indian leadership directly, by the way, and still Modi went to Ukraine. I just don't get it, but I mean, it is what it is, man. Modi went to Kyiv anyways. Okay. Vzglyad newspaper is reporting that Russian armed forces established control over their 50 overall, by the way, since the beginning of the operation in the Kharkiv direction. Russian troops established control over the 50 settlements. They are liberated 50 settlements from Western occupying regime, terrorist and Nazi regimes. Vzglyad newspaper is also reporting that US officials officially declared that Pentagon, Washington is authorizing Kyiv regime to use whatever Western weapons they have to conduct strikes deep inside Russian territory and use them in the Kursk region, for example. We all knew this from very beginning. This operation was planned by US generals, so-called generals, by the way, those uneducated idiots. After all, we should all keep in mind, by the way, that Pentagon was kicked out from Afghanistan just recently, and not really by regular armed forces, right? And how that has happened? Maybe it has something to do with their extremely poor qualification and their education of the US high-ranking officers. I guess so. So of course we knew from very beginning that all this terrorist attack on Kursk region was planned by NATO generals, including US, UK, German high-ranking military officers, and well, results will be no any better than Kyiv regime had during its 2023 so-called counteroffensive, which also was planned by NATO generals, and as a result, Russian armed forces decimated some up to 150,000. I mean, all the advancing Kyiv regime's brigades, and as a result, Kyiv regime lost up to 150,000 military personnel during that so-called counteroffensive in 2023. So this news is absolutely not surprising to me. Only question I have: what kind of warning Russian Foreign Ministry had given to the US in regards to deployment of Western weapons against Russia on internationally recognized borders, territories of the Russian Federation, and will Russia act on warnings, on its own warnings, or not? That's the only question I have personally. Also, we have Interfax news agency's report that US prepared another military aid package for the Kyiv regime, this time for 125 million US dollars. In this package, there will be artillery shells for 155 and 105 millimeter artillery systems, also anti-tanker missiles, HIMARS missiles, and some other weapons and munitions. I mean, the US already spent so much money to prolong this proxy war against Russia that when you see 125 million, I mean, it's just peanuts compared to all the resources that Washington already spent on this proxy war against Russia, isn't it? We are talking about up to 200 billion that US taxpayers lost, or US political leadership stole from US taxpayers to prolong this proxy war against Russia. And I'm quite sure if you conduct some study in US, vast majority of US citizens will have no idea why Washington is prolonging this proxy war against Russia, and why Washington is so keen to demonize Russia, to build this illusion that Russia is enemy, when in reality it's a US military class, military leadership, political leadership. US deep state is a true enemy of the US citizens, man, and well-informed people in US know this perfectly well. They know. Ask Colonel McGregor, by the way, ask Scott Ritter, ask all the journalists, by the way, from the West, from the US itself. Is Russia enemy of US? Not really. I mean, do we want to be enemies or hostile towards US? No. It's all a narrative that was created by Western ruling class and promoted by Western ruling class, and unfortunately, Western elites are acting on this narrative. RT is reporting that NATO base in Germany on alert for potential threat. This is not the first time, by the way, that NATO bases in Europe are on high alert due to fears of sabotage and so on. So NATO rather playing base in Gillenkirchen, Germany, has raised its security level due to an intelligence warning about potential threat. Located near the German-Dutch border, their base is home to the NATO AWACS Airborne Early Warning and Control Systems Forces, which became operational in 1988. And then, quote, we raised the security level of the NATO airbase Gelsenkirchen based on intelligence information indicating a potential threat. The base announced on its X, formerly Twitter, account on Thursday evening. And then, quote, also, all non-mission essential staff have been sent home as a precautionary measure. The base added operations continue as planned. The threat level at the base has been raised to Charlie. A spokesperson told Reuters this is the second highest of 4 states of alert and means there has either been incident or intelligence indicating that some kind of terrorist attack is highly likely. Well, there are so much rumors, isn't it, lately that some pro-Russian activists in collective West states are conducting some sabotage operations against military infrastructure of the NATO member states. And, if pro-Russian activists that are clearly recognizing that Western ruling class is an evil force and existential threat to humanity, if those people will sabotage whatever military infrastructure of the NATO, I mean, I definitely don't feel sorry about that. I'm going to be very direct about it. As long as civilians are not harmed, by the way, I don't care. NATO member states are directly involved in this conflict against Russia and are directly involved in killing of Russian citizens, including civilians, by the way, and therefore, if pro-Russian or pro-humanity activists in the West will sabotage any military facility, any military industrial complex, I would not care about it. As long as no civilians are harmed, because I'm not going to play games, isn't it? If Germany is acting as enemy, and if German do it to German militaries and German weapons, hundreds and thousands of Russian citizens being killed, then why would I feel any sorry if entire this base is wiped out from the face of the earth? I mean, let's be real here, isn't it? It is what it is. I don't want our countries to be in hostile position, but it's not up to me. It's not even up to leadership of Russia. It's a Western ruling class that started these hostilities, right? With constant expansion of the NATO and constant ignorance towards Russia, towards Russian interests, warnings from Russia. And we are where we are right now. And this is all due to criminal activity of the Western ruling class. And dear friends, before I continue, let me notice, if I may, that this small channel of mine, small media project of mine with several channels on YouTube, Rumble, and the Telegram is completely subscriber funded, and I will be immensely grateful if you will also consider to support my work with small donations through PayPal or Boosty. This is a Boosty platform, by the way, very convenient platform to me personally, especially since my account was blocked by Buy Me Coffee. You can subscribe here on my page where I have some additional content. You can send a tip or donation, and I don't have to do nothing, by the way. Platform will do everything and direct sums to my account. And also, by the way, you can subscribe on my Patreon page, which is much more developed than Boosty, because I'm working on Patreon page for a longer time. And as I said in the beginning, I have some plans to make Patreon and Boosty channel significantly richer with more content, bonus videos, extra content, and hopefully communities on Patreon and Boosty will find it interesting. All the links, by the way, to my PayPal, Patreon, or Boosty, or crypto wallet, by the way, under this video in the description box and in the pinned comment. That's been said, there are a few more news, dear friends. Taiwan's top security officials visit to US. Taiwan's top security officials visit US for secret talks, according to article in Financial Times. Taiwan's top foreign policy official visited the US this week for a secret meeting known as a special channels talk, the Financial Times reported on Thursday, citing sources. It's the first such a visit since Taiwanese President Lai Chang-te took office in May. China, understandably so, opposes contacts between Washington and Taipei, calling the Taiwanese issue its red line. Beijing has previously accused the US of weakening the One China policy, which states that Taiwan is an integral part of Chinese territory. People familiar with the trip to Washington by the Taiwanese officials said that Foreign Minister Lin Chin-lung and Joseph Hu, Taiwan's national security advisor, visited the Washington area for these talks, seen as a rare opportunity for a large group of senior officials from both sides to hold detailed talks, negotiations. The sources did not disclose the location or the timing of the discussions. Well, none of us are surprised, of course, that Washington, Western ruling class, is escalating with China on regular basis, and of course, Taiwanese issue is a major issue for China, and I'm afraid it's only a matter of time when the Western ruling class will use Taiwan, will sacrifice Taiwan and people that are living on that island. Chinese people, by the way, they are all Chinese. Taiwan is China, right? And I'm afraid the Western ruling class will use and abuse Taiwan in the very same way that they did with Ukraine. They will sacrifice people that are living in Taiwan for their geopolitical agenda. And they will provoke proxy war with China. I just have no doubts about it, and I guess vast majority of our community are on the same page with that. Western ruling class has no reverse gear, by the way. They cannot stop. They just cannot stop. Also, dear friends, interesting news are coming in from Georgia. Prime Minister of country stated that her party of the former president of Georgia, Mikhail Saakashvili, United National Movement, will be banned, declared non-constitutional, and their MPs from that party will lose their mandates in a parliament. And Kobachidze is sure about this because there is a Constitutional Court of Georgia is now working on this topic, and the current leadership of Georgia, ruling parties, is sure that Constitutional Court will make a decision that this party, due to its anti-Georgian activity for years and decades at this point, is absolutely unconstitutional. And this is definitely going to be additional reason for the Western ruling class to further escalate with Tbilisi, 100%. And I truly hope Georgian leadership, Georgian society, Georgian security services are ready for what is about to come from the collective West, because they're going to use all the sources in Georgia to conduct regime change in this autumn when parliamentary elections will take place. It's going to be 26th of October, I believe. And if society of Georgia is not united, if government of Georgia is not united, if security services of Georgia will not stay out of politics, if there will be cracks there, well, unfortunately, risks will be very high that Western ruling class will manage to conduct regime change in Georgia and then sacrifice this former Soviet republic and its people, like Ukraine was sacrificed, and most likely Western ruling class will use Georgia as some sort of second front against Russia. It is what it is. Let's see. I mean, October is not far away, and everybody is in Georgia now is preparing, I guess, for October elections, and everybody has worried that Western ruling class may try something very bad in Georgia. Viana is also reporting, and I will end this update on this news, if I may, that, well, according to Russian Ministry of, you know what, let me translate this news to be more precise. So, Russia's subsoil coal reserves will last for more than 100 years, even if production rates increase, said Alexander Kozlov, Minister of Natural Resources and Environment. Russia will celebrate Miners' Day on Sunday, and this report is due to this upcoming holiday or celebration. The supply of coal reserves, not only with the current production, which amounts to almost 392 million tons, by the way, in 2023, but also with the increase in its rate exceeds 100 years, Minister said. And in this information, by the way, I think it is quite interesting to point out that in 2023, Russia mined 392 million tons of coal. And we are constantly hearing these talks about green energy and renewables and solar and wind power and that kind of stuff. And when I was reading this news, I was thinking, for God's sake, man, who is using then? If green revolution is happening and everything is okay in that sense, then who is using this 392 million tons of coal, by the way? And of course, Russia is a major exporter, one of the major exporters of the coal in this world, right? So, I mean, numbers are quite telling, isn't it? And despite all these talks about green revolution and stuff, by the way, coal, gas, oil, they play a crucial role for world's economy, and they're gonna continue to play a crucial role for the world's economy, together with nuclear energy, for not just decades to come, but maybe even longer. I mean, just take a look at the numbers, by the way. Just Russia mined 392 million tons of coal. If you combine overall volumes of coal mining in this world, then number probably will be absolutely unimaginable. You know, so it is what it is. It is what it is. I have nothing against green energy, by the way. During one of the recent updates, I said something about nuclear energy, that I believe in nuclear energy, civilian nuclear energy, and I'm not really big believer in wind power and solar power. And I was criticized for that by some members of our community, which is okay, absolutely, man. I never said that I'm expert in wind power and solar power. I just think to myself, I mean, to produce all that stuff, you're gonna use some engineering equipment that works on electricity that is generated by coal plants, by hydroelectric plants or nuclear power plants. Many details are based on oil and that kind of stuff. So, I mean, if you're still using significant amount of oil and gas and coal and the rest of it, then why it's being called green? I don't get it. And after all, as far as I know, these wind turbines, by the way, are killing a lot of birds. Plenty of birds. So, I mean, I don't believe those energy sources will save the earth. Definitely not. I believe the world will move from oil and gas and coal, definitely in time. And probably major source of energy will be current technology, current nuclear power stations, and also there is big hopes for fusion power stations, right? These ones are fission power stations, when atoms are split in nuclear reactors, which generates huge volume of energy. But fusion, that's a future, I guess, when fusion is happening of the atoms, during the which also huge energy is generated. Anyways, this is it for now. And hopefully you will find this update informative, interesting, and useful. And if so, please click that like button and leave some commentary just about anything, any topic, any comment will do. This is the only way we can try at least and deal with algorithm. And for very same reason, if you can, please share links to my channel on the platforms that you are active on, or share the word that such channel is existing in a real life with your friends. And yes, this is it. If you like my work, if you like my channels, and want to support, all the links are on this video in the description box and in the pinned comment. So yes, this is it for now. Have a great day and take care.